Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Beyond the Couch Roundtable series. Today we are here with Michelle Kais. I'm super excited because we are going to be talking about parenthood and bringing therapy beyond the couch. I'm going to hand it over to her so she can introduce herself, and we're going to go from there.
All right. Hello. Yes, I am Michelle Kais. Sometimes people call me just Michelle K because they can't pronounce my last name. So I am a mindset mom coach, and I am a licensed therapist by trade. I've been a therapist for probably about over a decade. And I'm in Florida, but I'm like virtual only. And I think like my biggest thing that I just continue to encourage with my clients is to really understand that like being a mom is probably one of the biggest jobs out there. But I also think like being also like a working mom also plays a role too. So I empower a lot of my working moms to put their professional and their personal needs like and their goals together because sometimes we separate it. So that's my ultimate goal that I really want to make sure that I'm empowering working moms, and especially moms who are business owners, which I think it just like to me does like an empowerment level like times 10, like it's another level that we're taking on. So that's primarily what I do.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I actually also want to say that even if you are not a mom to a human, you might be a mom to a aunt or a cute little puppy or cat. So stick around and watch this because again, I think this goes really hand in hand with the work that we do. The idea is that many of us are caregivers in some kind of way. And that does spill into the work that we do. And you can still bring your work beyond those direct therapy services and have a sustainable, expansive career while also playing many roles.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's important. So, like, for instance, I'm a mom of two, but I
Mhm.
also have elderly parents. So I'm also caring for them in some ways. And so I think, like, there's something with therapists where I don't think we talk about this enough. It's about like caring for others in our personal life while also caring for our in our professional role, because that's essentially what we do.
Absolutely.
So I think sometimes, I don't know if you can relate to this, like sometimes we find it hard to do both at the same time or show up in a way, or sometimes we're even not aware that we're having a difficulty with doing both those things at the same time. So our personal things and our personal life and our professional things. So I don't know if you can relate to that in any way.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I know, like, for me, I was saying that my little one has been home all summer and it's been so difficult. I feel really overstimulated at times because I didn't stop working. I actually worked pretty hard this summer because I don't experience a slump in my practice. This is when a lot of people pick up and care because a lot of babies are being born during this time. August is the highest month that children are born. Those are all those winter babies that we're seeing. And so for me, even though I'm sitting in session, I'm constantly like my ears are constantly on, not just for what clients are saying, but like what am I hearing in the background? Ooh, things seem quiet. What's she doing up there? So yeah, absolutely. Like it continuously spills over. It's even though when I'm like here in therapy, I'm your therapist, my mom hat doesn't necessarily come off.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that, like, even talking about that word of like my mom hat, my therapist hat. And I feel like sometimes it's hard to like, again, like combine that. And I think some of it is a little bit for therapists. Some of it is the appropriate transparency.
Mhm.
Like when you're talking with clients or the type of client that you have. There are most of my clients I feel comfortable and I'm very upfront, even in my first session when I'm explaining everything with the intake, I'm more than likely saying things like, hey, just so you know, if we have a 9 a.m. session, I do have a transportation issue with my family. And so, just know I might be a little bit late.
Mhm.
Now, for me, if I have a client really push back on that, I'll be honest, like in my private practice, I'm a little hesitant to have that client and continue that client. I haven't had that because I do think that I'm very upfront, like transparency wise with my lifestyle and who I am. And then my clients, we tend to attract that. And I'm really into things like manifesting and understanding that like you do have to have that transparency as a business owner and particularly a private practice owner in order to I think in order to succeed like because it's so vulnerable like what we're doing. I think like our clients actually, especially nowadays, they appreciate that,
Hmm.
to be able to have that transparency, and then also just to be able to be clear like this is who I am. And I just think that's hard, especially for people who have maybe have kids or are taking care of someone. Maybe we feel like we don't want to share that part of our life, maybe for safety reasons. So that
Hmm.
can come up too as well. But at the same time, I think our clients now really appreciate that transparency. And of course, you have to use your own discretion and you know your clients the best, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's actually something that I do as well is especially like there was a time where my little one, when she would get home from daycare, she would just be in everything and you can hear her and she was a happy child, right? Like, laughing, giggling, all of that. And whenever I saw a new client, I was like, hey, if you want to have an evening session, you're going to hear my little one. She's going
Yeah.
to be around and I'm sorry, that's just what's going on in my home at this point in time. Now she's a little bit older, she can be easily in another room and you're not hearing much going on.
Mhm.
But at one point, like I could see that some people just really did not enjoy that. And so I cut back those hours. I didn't have evening hours anymore because I could no longer support it in a way that really gave those clients the same amount of quiet they would have during the day when she's in school. So it shifted the practice quite a bit because now when people want to work with me and they're asking for evening hours, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't, I don't support that at this point in time. But it also opened things up to allow for me to feel comfortable about doing the things in the evenings that are pretty typical for kids, right? Now she's a little bit older, we have all sorts of sports that we're testing out and trying and dance and those kinds of things. I wouldn't be able to do that if I was working in the evening because I wouldn't have the time, right? I would have to allot that out to clients.
Yeah, and I love like what you're saying because I think sometimes as therapists we think we can do it all. Like we're like, oh, we have this client and I want to like accommodate for this client or I want to do this. It's like, I think focusing it on one or two things is really important in business because I think when you can do that more, you have more space open for, like you said, like your personal life, like doing things like we deserve that as therapists. Like I
Mhm.
think sometimes, I don't know how you, but like sometimes it's like, oh, we don't deserve that. We have to like cut, we got to see our clients. We got to like go through all this. And it's like, no, we're human beings. We deserve to have time with our family. We deserve to go for a walk in the middle of the day, and I think, some of that goes in if you were in community healthcare. Like, I don't know if you've ever done community.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, no, you got to get this done. You got to get your treatment plan done and get your notes done and get all those things. But like that doesn't serve us over time. I think
Mhm.
it's okay to do that in the beginning. We've all done it in order to get maybe our licensure hours and things like that. But over time, we need to be in a season where we just evaluate, is this the right thing for me? Like, is this the right thing for my lifestyle? And I ran a therapist group the one time, and I was talking about running your practice according to like yourself, your values, like what's important to you. And I think someone in the group was like, "Well, I didn't learn that. I learned that you're supposed to run your practice for the clients and like what the clients need." And I was like, well, like this is your business. Like this is your stuff. And so I think like taking some ownership of that And I think that just happens in anything you do, whether it's in your household or it's in your business. Like take that ownership. And I think you flourish a lot more. Just in my experience, you'll flourish a lot more when you can take that ownership of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I recognize that there was a time a couple of years ago, I was really running myself ragged. I was seeing beyond my capacity when it came to clients just to get the practice like nice and full and to, see that big return that we were talking about. And I ended up having a medical incident during a session and I was incredibly embarrassed. And that was the moment where I took a step back and I was like, there's too much going on. There's
Yeah.
incredibly too much happening. And I am not my best. And in order to be at my best and be the most, to provide the optimal quality to the clients that I work with, I have to be able to be functioning in a way that works for myself first. So I revamped everything. I pulled back the caseload. You know, shifted my hours when my little one was going to summer camp. I had to shift hours again. And the hours worked so well during summer camp that I never changed it back. That was the new hours of the practice. But it worked really well for me. It helped me to see that when you're running your business, the best thing that you could do for yourself is make sure that it's not just the self-care, but it's like you're performing at your optimal because that's when you can give your clients the best of what you got when it comes to skills.
Yeah. And I love that you figured that out. And I feel like I talk about this a lot. You have to do some assessment like for yourself. An example is like I run a quarterly planning series, and this has been something I've been doing for years, and it's actually something that is very typical in business. But when I talk to therapists, they're like, yeah, what are you talking about quarterly planning?" Like, and I'm like, no, you need to check in. And that's just quarterly. For me, Mondays are my day. It's not only my admin day, I call it my visionary day. So it's like the day that I sit and I'm like, what do I envision? Like my life? What do I envision? My not only like my life, but like what do I vision my practice and the type of clients who come through the door. And I think for to spend that, and it's like even just an hour, and it's in my calendar, it's like visionary hour, and to spend that time doing that. And I've had clients be like, okay, do you have a Monday session? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I don't see clients on Monday. And I know
Mhm.
that some therapists are like, are you crazy, girl? You better get that 100 and something dollars. Like, and I'm like,
Nope.
so worth it. Like in the end, it is worth it to be able to give that to your business and to yourself, that time and that space to just be like, this is what I want to see for my business and also for myself. And so I just love that you're giving yourself that time for assessment. And
Mm,
as moms, we need to do that when the seasons change. So like you
absolutely.
said, like it's like summertime, now we're about to go into back to school. It's like, okay, so maybe I need to do some tweaks or I need to assess like, is this working for me or not? And then your clients, if they're ride or die, they'll go along with you.
Mhm.
And when I say ride or die, hopefully some of y'all know it's an old like,
Yeah.
I know what I mean by ride or die. Like,
Mhm.
ride or die means they're with you all the time. Like they love your services. You keep that consistency. And I think like when you do that, you can set up a practice and a business for yourself that is flourishing and long lasting.
Absolutely. I think that for all of us as clinicians, it's really important to design the practice that works for you, just as we've been saying before. And I agree. Like the clients who are with you, they will continue to be with you. I've had a couple of clients that I've worked with for a while, and even that of being able to be like, okay, this is the summer season. This is what happens in the winter, right? I do it for my clients. I know what's going on for them, what comes up on a regular basis. Like I know where the points are where it's like, okay, we're probably going to be spending a little bit more time working here versus another season where it's like we're moving and grooving, we're cool. So I think it's the same dedication you give to your practice, right? Like the same thing I notice about my clients, the same thing that I notice about my practice, and I respond accordingly.
Yeah.
You spoke about an admin day, and that is something that my coach, Evolve Benton, talks
Mhm.
about a lot. Is like you need a CEO day where you are dedicating that time to your work
Yep.
to not book clients, but to actually like make sure that you're doing all of the things that is necessary to keep that business functioning. It might be pitching, getting leads, it could be networking, it could be a lot of different things. For me, in the mornings, I don't start any sessions at this point in time before 9 a.m. It gives me enough
Yeah.
time to get the kid off to school, have a
Yeah.
cup of tea, take a look at the schedule, move content if it needs to move, and then
Yeah.
take a nice deep breath before I turn on the my video to see that first client. Helps the business to move the way that it wants, and again, helps me to show up the way that I like to show up when it comes to therapy sessions.
Yeah, and it's like having a routine in the morning, particularly, is really helpful. And I tell people you don't have, that doesn't have to be like a whole hour or half an hour routine. Like sometimes even a 5 minute or 10 minute routine. I have like a freebie that I have called Mom Focus, and
Mhm.
it's really about like a quick daily routine that I've done for years. That it's like, okay, let me take a breath, let me evaluate what I'm supposed to focus on today. Because I think as moms or even caregivers, you do sometimes have to go day by day. Like,
Mhm.
yes, you have an overall focus about like maybe the season that you're in. So if it's back to school, like you have an overall focus, or for your practice, you're like, okay, it's overall focus of what I'm going to do. But there essentially needs to be like a day to day, like what is most important today. Because if I sat there and I focused on what I need to do next week, my brain would explode. Like I would be like, this is too much. So it's like, hey, let me figure out what's really important for me today to kind of move on. So, and that's just when you're overwhelmed and you're doing a lot, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said. Like, what can I focus on today to move on and move forward? I really, really like that one of having a focus point, and so and not to overwhelm your mind. I think that sometimes we don't realize, like, a lot of moms will get to this stage, or even caregivers will get to this stage, and they'll be like, "Do I have ADHD?" And sometimes maybe, but other times it's you're overwhelmed, you're overstimulated because there's so much happening, there's so much going on. We don't talk about it enough of what it is to actually care for another human who is unable to care for themselves in the same way that you do, and how much you manage that. So I think that that in itself creates a lot of overstimulation, a lot of movement in people's lives. And to just be able to slow everything down and be like, what just needs to get done in this moment, and not worrying about next week's practice, or I got to be at the recital, I got to do this. Like, what's going on today? How do we get through today? Is a really beautiful way of moving through your days.
Yeah, and you have to. I mean, we're at two something, and
Mhm.
like I got a text from my dad. I got a phone call from my 11-month-old. I had to pay the like Apple food thing, like meal thing for my child. I had three clients. I had to eat. I had to like it's like a
It's a
laundry,
lot.
and it's like it's only the middle of the day, and I'm like, okay, I could go nap right now.
Absolutely.
So it's like you just have to focus on. Sometimes it's not daily. I encourage clients, sometimes it's every few hours, like from breakfast to lunch.
Hmm.
What are we going to focus on just from breakfast to lunch? And they're like, oh, I only have like three things. And you're like, good, let's complete those three things. And then, like, when lunch comes, let's reevaluate. What do we do
Yeah.
from lunch to dinner? So it's just interesting.
Yeah. And I think I want to say that um I if I could give any piece of advice to this is do not overload yourself, right? Three things is what you need to be focused on, if that, for that moment. Because a lot of times it's like, oh, I have this to-do list, and you've got 10 things on the to-do list. Not
Exactly.
getting those 10 things done. Let's be honest with ourselves. You can get 3 done,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
10 is pushing it.
And I think there's even some like research behind that. Like, our brain can only hold like 3 to 5 things. And
Mhm,
so, like, if we can keep encouraging that, because I think we actually get done more when we like actually make things more bite-sized. When we're like, oh, I'm gonna do the 10 things, and then you're like, you can notice, like, and I always say, like, your body is the number one truth teller. So if you
mhm.
start being like, okay, I'm having heart palpitations. My brain feels like it's so overloaded. I don't know what to do. That means that your list needs to be smaller.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
because there's just no, because then what's going to happen more than likely is you're actually more likely going to get nothing done because
Right.
you're sitting there with the heart palpitations, and then like your brain's exploding. Someone asks you to do something. And I think the other thing is like we talk a lot about in the world boundaries is like the word that comes up. And sometimes that's really about saying no. So when someone is, and including your child, is like, hey, I want to do this. Can we do this? Can we go down the street and play with so and so? It's like, no, I have to complete this thing. And so I think really just bringing that focus and then but communicating it with other people
Mhm.
is important, especially with your family. You have to communicate once you establish once that thing you're focusing on.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle, I love this conversation. I'm wondering what else do you have going on? What's coming up, and how can the audience stay connected with you on this wonderful topic?
Great. Well, first things first, my company name is called Mommy Consults. So you can get that on social media and all platforms. My favorite thing to do is just like my reels, like put lots of tidbits and tips. So if you go to Mommy Consults on Instagram or anything, you'll be able to see that. And then Mom Focus is definitely my freebie that I've been talking about. It's that daily reminder to help you just really focus, and you can just download that freebie. And I have mom focus workshops that are coming up. The next one will be for back to school. And that'll be a way for you to actually spend time and doing that daily like routine, and then also applying that in a workshop format to back to school. So that's my number one thing. I have some other things that are for therapist moms, but if you go on there, I think my biggest thing is if you're a mom, like I really want you to just work on this daily thing that I'm talking about is just focusing on 1 or 2 things that you need to do on a daily basis. So go to Mommy Consults.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this. Y'all go out and make sure that you follow Mom Consults for your information on getting your daily restoration, as well as looking out for those upcoming workshops. Thank you so much for being with us today, Michelle. And I look forward to seeing more of what you have going on.
All right, thanks so much.
You are welcome.